Hi, and welcome to this edition of B.E.P Talks. We have a very entertaining talk, all set to begin very, very shortly with my very special guest, Richard Mover. Hi, Richard. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Beth, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate
Such
it.
a pleasure. I've been excited about this because this is a little bit different,
Yeah,
as you know better than anybody. But for our audience, I want them to really know the credentials that you step in today with. You are an actor, you're a director, a four-time playwright. You've been on stage in New York City, the biggest stage in the world. You are a creative performance coach. And through your wonderful experience and talents, you help others to become very good at what they do when it comes to performing, is what I understand.
absolutely.
You
I
know,
do.
I love soft skills because that's kind of the world I live, and I'm not a tech person at all. I think the power of verbal communication and even in acting, the nonverbal communication is really key to everything, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, body language can tell you sometimes more than what somebody is verbalizing,
Right.
honestly.
And in regular communication, I find that everybody wants to do the talking. And I find that one of the greatest strengths you can have, one of the best skills that you can use, and really a gift that you give to someone else is listening.
Absolutely. Very true. And, a lot of people, there's a difference between hearing and listening, right? I mean, when you're listening to somebody, I call it active listening, meaning it's intentional. It's listening to understand,
Hmm.
not to come back with a clever response that is, rehearsed or something you used before. There's no formula
Right,
to
right.
interacting with people. That's why that kind of quality, the dimensional kind of listening, where you're listening beyond what people are saying. You're in theater. We have something called subtext, which is what's going on underneath the words. So we're always conscious of what's being said underneath.
Which is so powerful. The tone of the voice, the speed with which you speak,
All of it.
the words you emphasize, all of those things truly tell the story.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
love storytelling. I love telling your story, and that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do here today. But I must say this. Um, in getting to know you a little bit and inviting you to be a guest here on BEP Talks, I came to realize, I read that, and this is not all that uncommon, that you were greatly influenced by your mom.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
definitely.
I read a poem that she wrote. And if you weren't going to read it today, I was going to. But
I'll be
I want,
happy.
no, no, I want you to read it. It's just so magnificent. So would you grace us, please, with the beautiful words that your mom wrote?
Well, absolutely. It's actually in my talk, so I can deliver it there.
Oh, then you
Yeah,
know what? Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Let's wait for that. So
sure.
we're going to get into who is typically in your audience when you're doing your keynote, which we're going to hear a version of it in just a little bit. Who's typically in your audience?
Yeah, it's varied. It's really people who are looking to connect with other people, looking to gain influence in a pure way, in an organic way, not in a manipulative way. So I can be talking to salespeople. I can be talking to customer service people, HR people. I can be talking to educators and college students. It's my message is pretty wide in terms of who it can benefit.
And I
So
guess we all can. Yes, we
I
all
think
can
so. I hope so. Yeah.
grow ourselves personally, learn to listen more, learn to communicate better. And going back to the hearing versus listening, I just remember so many times seeing rather prolific, well, they used to call themselves journalists on TV, who were truly just waiting for their turn to speak.
Right. Right.
That's not communication.
Well, let me tell
That's
you,
not
it
communication.
happens. It happens in the theater too. You have actors who are truly there, moment to moment, listening for all they're worth, and then you have actors who are just waiting for their cue. They can't wait to say their lines. It's it's very common. It's
Well,
it's an ego thing. And
It's an ego thing. Well,
it
let me
makes,
make this very clear. You are the star of this show, and you're going to kind of slip into character now, aren't you?
I am indeed.
So go ahead, disappear for a second. Richard is going to come back in character. So I said it was going to be very entertaining. He's going to come back in character. This is going to be fun. And I love anybody who can teach people the gift of listening. And then the next thing that comes out of the listener's mouth, you have no clue what it's going to be. And that's what steers the conversation. So on B.E.P Talks, nothing is scripted, nothing is staged, nothing is rehearsed. Everything is, whoa, hello. I'm just saying that on B.E.P Talks, nothing is scripted, nothing is rehearsed. Everything is an authentic, off the cuff conversation. So here you are in character. I'm going to turn it over to you. So with no further ado, here is Richard Mover. Take it away.
Greetings, sad and pitiful mortals. As I scrutinize the faces and calculate the average age of the audience here at this gathering today, I'm reminded of the timeless proverb, only the good die young. And if that's a fact, ladies and gentlemen, from the look of it, most of you must be extraordinarily rotten to have remained here on this planet for so long, which means we could potentially still do some business. Now, I'm in the, shall we say, acquisitions business, all right? I tend to keep a low profile because you humans always seem to cop an attitude when you find out who I am and what I do. Now, because I'm in acquisitions, I take what people freely give away and are usually hell-bent to get rid of, if you want to know the truth. I simply take possession of something they've already chosen to dispose of. And oh, how rude of me. I neglected to introduce myself. Well, I'm a man of considerable wealth, impeccable taste, and not to mention an amazing head of hair. My name is Lou Cipher. And among other things, I'm the chief executive officer of Hellscape Mutual Futures and Fire and Brimstone Assets, where I have a proud personal motto that goes like this. When you're at your worst, I'll always be there first, because I'm here to fill the hole where once dwelled your mortal soul. So you better take heed and don't delay, because there might just come a day when yours truly is going to make you pay one way or another. Hello, everybody, and cheerful greetings. Thanks for showing up, because my mama always told me that showing up was 50% of the battle already won. My real name is Richard Mover. Wow, it felt so good to have hair again. No matter. My topic today is an actor's guide to emotional intelligence, the art of creating connection and momentum. My demonically demented character, Lou Cipher, serves as a foreboding figurative warning and a reason to become internally vigilant against that demon in waiting, quietly hiding inside all of us, capable of stealing our very soul without a sound, like a thief in the night. Now, emotional intelligence, which I will refer to going forward as EI, is defined as having the capacity to be aware of and the ability to control the expression of one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. It's that tangible something in each of us that affects how we manage behavior, navigate social complexities, and make personal decisions that achieve positive results. It's also the strongest predictor of successful business leaders in the country, according to a recent study by B.E.P Partners. EI encourages self-reflection, gained awareness, and the attainment of valuable intrinsic self-knowledge. It instills in us the necessary mindfulness to adapt organically to all kinds of strenuous situations, difficult and divergent personality types, and respond thoughtfully instead of just giving in to knee-jerk emotional reactions. Guilty. It's also important to understand that EI isn't the opposite of basic intelligence. It isn't the triumph of heart over head. In fact, it's where they intersect and form a unique conversion. I'm a certified creative performance coach for many years with my own practice called Performance Transformance, which was born out of my background as an actor, director, and playwright in the New York City theater world for over 30 years. Now, the theater is essentially a laboratory set up to explore the very soul and contours of humanity and human behavior. It's a mirror held up to nature that reflects, educates, inspires, and at its best has the power to transform. Now, as artists, it teaches us to be champions of the play, not of ourselves, and to devote our energies to the larger purpose of telling the story and hopefully making a meaningful impact, to work with each other as an ensemble, where there are no small parts, only small actors. And I should know because at 5, 6.5 on a good day, I'm one of them. Theater also calls us to continue to mine, probe, and keep asking questions, to keep performances fresh and ever evolving, and to never stop digging for dimension and truth. Now, as an audience, it challenges us to look deep inside, to face and find ourselves. After all, as a species, our very survival depends upon our need for understanding, communication, and connection. Creating relationships, navigating and sustaining them can obviously be extremely difficult and daunting, to say the least. I mean, we're intricate beings, and no matter how hard we try, cannot be reduced to or defined by a label. And there's no generic formula to successfully interact with us either. The theater also teaches us it's a huge mistake to generalize, make assumptions about, or underestimate anyone, which is a lesson that was emblazoned into my brain back in the day. While attending Boston University's theater program, I found out that one of the greatest directors and acting teachers of all time, the legendary Nikos Sakharopoulos, who was the amazing Meryl Streep's acting teacher. He also founded and ran the Williamstown Theater Festival, the most prestigious summer theater in the United States, where he directed plays with casts that included the likes of Christopher Walken, Blythe Danner, Marissa Tomei, Frank Langella, and the list went on and on. Now, he would be teaching an acting class at New York University. Now, Nikos was both famously and infamously known for being a kind of a hard ass, but an absolute X-ray machine for actors who pulled no punches and took no prisoners. His built-in BS monitor, eye and ear, were always spot on, and his searingly specific and dastardly direct commentary with no filter left a lot of actors who dared to work in front of him shaking in their boots when critiqued by him. So naturally, as a confirmed masochist, I moved to New York City, transferred to NYU, and enrolled in the class. Oh yeah, baby. It was me and about 65 other students that first semester. We all got to do one scene in front of Sir Nikos, and based on his reaction, he would decide whether he wanted to continue to work with us the next semester. So it was more or less an audition, and the personal stakes were high. And of course, as fate would have it, my scene partner and I both wanted to play the same role, and after a lot of debate and dissension, which is a polite way of saying we nearly kicked the crap out of each other, we decided to toss a coin to determine who would get to play the part. He flipped the coin, and I got to call it. Tails, I shouted. It was heads. I ended up having to play the dull guy, or at least that was my perception then. I mean, the character seemed weak and passive to me because he didn't have much to say in the scene, instead of the more dynamic, aggressive, and talkative character, which would obviously make more of an impression and play to my strengths as an angry young man at that time. Anyway, we performed the scene, and when we finished, there was this long pause. Then Nikos, as was his tradition, asked the class what they thought. They generally liked the scene and said the work was honest. I breathed a sigh of relief. Nikos cut them off quickly and with his thick Greek accent chimed in with, yes, honest, honestly boring. And then he asked me an important question, a question that would change my point of view forever. Richard, when you play a doormat, what is the most important thing you must investigate? I stood there, speechless and motionless. He leaned in, tapped me on the forehead, and said, "You must look to see what is underneath the doormat. There could be a bomb." With that, a sonic boom went off in my brain. He was getting at something essential and true, not only in the theater, but in life. The idea that people are surprising and unpredictable, that human behavior is never so simple as black and white. There are always shades of gray, conflicting and contradicting emotions, variables and nuances between strength and human frailty, certainty and doubt, love and pity, justice and vengeance, and on it goes in all of us. You know, the irony is I never would have learned that lesson if I had won that coin toss, which just shows to Goya we should never second guess life. And has a funny way of delivering the lessons we need to learn at the exact time we need to learn them. Now, there is a what I would call a definitive art to being able to steer through the steep waves and choppy waters of human idiosyncrasies and peculiarities. It's basically emotional intelligence. That's what it is. It's the unsinkable vessel you can always count on to guide you through those rough seas. Now, the first leg of the journey is the absolute retention of self-awareness. The brilliant psychoanalyst Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Until we make the unconscious conscious, we will let it dictate our life and call it fate. That is so true because so many of us are living unconsciously in a state of psychological default or even defeat, instead of consciously realizing that we can be the architect of our own destinies. Now, it's not an easy voyage. It takes great courage to get there. That solidified sense of belief stems from self-knowledge that is daringly derived from facing all kinds of scary inner demons, wounds, fears, bad habits, limiting beliefs, and the constant self-defeating drone of negative self-talk. We must learn how to become our own advocate instead of always playing the devil's. I believe we're all in the process of becoming, trying our best, as my friend and colleague Willie J likes to say, to fly with wounded wings. We're all broken, but that's how the light gets in. After all, it's the flaw in the painting that makes it beautiful, and it's the foibles in us that connect us. Having an awareness of and a compassion for these human deficiencies develops our individual capacity for EI. Simply becoming accustomed to certain questions and phrases can transform an interaction. For example, 2 words, I understand. Sometimes that's all that's required. People aren't always seeking solutions. They just need to be listened to and understood. You know, a question like, how are you really feeling? To get beyond the I'm fine routine answer people tend to deflect with. Sometimes just a comforting, I'm here for you. Will let someone know you're in their corner and they can depend on you and that they aren't a burden in their struggles. A stabilizing statement like, I can only imagine what you're going through. Lets people know you're aware of the gravity of the issue, and while you might not have the answers, they can lean on you whenever they need. You're not alone. This phrase can be a literal lifeline to someone who's trying to free themselves from adversity by extending a hand of solidarity with their struggles. Letting people know that it's okay to feel this way is another phrase that can ease and comfort people who are grappling with confusion or inner turmoil. You know, it's a way of validating feelings and helping to alleviate the emotional distress of guilt, shame, or self-doubt. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's so simple, yet so powerful. It lets people know that they're valued and appreciated and acknowledges the courage and trust it took for them to express a vulnerability or reveal something personal. Real emotional intelligence requires willpower, dedication, and selflessness. It never seeks to impress. Instead, it's always on a quest to bless by providing hope, understanding, patience, and integrity at every turn. Now that we feel more connected to ourselves and others, how do we get things moving? I mean, the number one principle we must embrace is to be truly committed to creating momentum in our lives by swimming against the currents of complacency. And if we can just keep our heads above the waters of apathy and lethargy and exercise the powers of perseverance and resiliency, a change will come guaranteed. But, and this is a big old huge but, so I'll put it to you poetically. This is where most of us fall through the crack due to a deeply disabling lack of belief in ourselves. Fears of failure, losing control, digging us deeper into a hole. And when even the thought of success makes us nervous, stressed, and depressed, and that never-ending fear of rejection and all-consuming need for perfection leads only to self-defeat and disjointed connections, yet, like all good little victims, we stick to our claim. The fault lies not in our stars, but in ourselves to blame. It's as we continue to live life on a wing and a prayer, and our dreams start to fade, and we despair and compare ourselves to others and don't run our own race. It's truly a crying shame and a downright disgrace. Time passes us by as we remain there shaking like a bunch of self-made schmucks forever stuck in the mud of our own making. Thank you. Anyway, we have great ideas. We make decisions and plans, then hardly ever follow through with them. Unfortunately, there's no over-the-counter mental Viagra that will enhance or enable us to rise to the occasion, so to speak, and push ahead, inspiring us to keep on keeping on, no matter what slings and arrows of outrageous fortune we encounter along the way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a remedy for that conundrum. It's a simple concept I learned from a friend and mentor of mine, who some of you may have heard of, Dr. John C. Maxwell, whose leadership team I'm a certified long-standing member of. I was inspired to write this song to highlight this magical concept. And I'm going to need you to follow me. And if you like, you can join in. There's a phrase that I want you to recognize and repeat when I get to it. And here's the phrase: trial, error, reflection, and correction. I want you to think of these words as a mantra for personal evolution, giving yourself permission to explore and embrace the unknown, make mistakes that unearth discoveries, turn ideas into actions that reveal even deeper discoveries, revelations, and creative solutions, ushering in the freedom to fail forward. My song is called Never Look Back, and tells the tale of a brother from another mother, a buddy of mine, a colleague, who transformed his life through epitomizing this concept. All right, here we go. You ready? Got to give myself a note. Okay. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. I'm gonna tell you a little story about a brother named Pete who fell real hard but got back on his feet. He did some foolish things as a hot-headed youth, but as time moved on, he confronted the truth. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. What he did as a kid, it could haunt him for life, or he could learn from his mistakes and pain, struggle, and strife. He decided it don't ever matter what he would face. He stayed focused like the tortoise, beat that hare in that race. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. Kept his eyes on the prize and discovered within that he had everything inside him to begin once again. He said, I'll stand up and shout it, 'cause there ain't no doubt about it. We reap what we're sowing, baby. Now that I know I'm gonna bloom like a flower buried under the snow. Keep moving and grooving and remember this song. Keep that fire within me burning and I'll always stay strong. Gonna walk it, not just talk it. Gonna stay on track. Gonna keep on moving forward and I'll never look back. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. Trial, error, reflection, and correction. Learn that living's about giving, and that's a fact. And being all about ourselves ain't no way to act. So I always try and put me in another man's shoes, 'cause the truth be told, we're all paying our dues. We're either broken, Banner were broken apart. The conclusion's up to us, so we gotta be smart. Now Pete made that choice to start brand new. And if he made that choice, brothers and sisters, so can you. All right, thank you. Now, look, I know artificial intelligence is all the rage right now, but in my humble opinion, an ounce of EI is worth a ton of AI. I mean, ultimately, digital technology and social media have done more to detach, divide, alienate, depress, and disconnect us than unite us. AI is just an imitation of life. EI is the real deal. It gets to the heart of the matter. Now, another awesome tool that's incredibly pragmatic and can be added to your emotional intelligence toolkit is the use of what we refer to in the theater as the magic if. This is a technique employed by both actors and directors to provide variations and variables in the approach to achieving an objective. It supplies communicative options using subtle emotional shadings and colorings, much the same way a painter uses a color palette to create art with. It allows us to be very specific about the how we're communicating. Now, an idea can be delivered in a myriad of ways depending on what's at stake personally and situationally. For example, we have the option of conveying our message as if it's a warning, an important discovery that changes everything, a new approach, surprising turnaround, a gift you can't wait to give, a call to arms, an intimate secret that's meant for only their ears, an urgent message that must not be ignored. The idea can be tinged, with sadness, laced with gladness, sprinkled with humor, glowing with grace, sighed with relief, infused with irony, simmering with urgency, and so on. Whether your approach is straightforward like a bull or crab-like sideways, you can be philosophical, informational, or ironical, motivational, inspirational, or psychological, erudite, whimsical, or didactic. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, Jewish, or Catholic. Including the magic if in your repertoire will enhance your range of self-expression and add layers of tone, color, and craft to your communication. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care." Because when we remove fear and judgment from the equation in our interactions and come from a nurturing and loving place, emotional intelligence organically expands within all by itself. My mama always told me that the word love is a verb and has little to no meaning unless it's actively given with no underlying agenda, and hopefully can be gracefully received upon who it is bestowed. She was my source. Barbara Ann, or Bobby, as she liked to be called. She gave me life and taught me how to love. She ingrained within me that God bestows gifts within all of us, and that our gift back to God is to use those gifts productively. Every inspirational word, good deed, or act of kindness I perform in this lifetime is a way of honoring my mother's memory and the sacrifices she made for all of us, even amid her own personal frustrations, emotional wounds, and disappointments while raising 4 kids by herself, with all the pressures, anxiety, and challenges that came along with it. She passed on a rainy October afternoon in 1984 at only 54 years old. I'm so grateful to God that I could be there with her, holding her hand. And I must admit, feeling relieved as she transcended this realm and left her tormented, cancer-ridden physical body for her peaceful and blessed journey toward the light. My mother had very little to leave us monetarily or materially. What she did leave are some beautiful memories to share and life lessons that will forever guide me, and a legacy of love, insight, and compassion that are the core principles in my life. Upon her demise, as my brother and sisters and I began the sifting and sorting process through her personal effects, we found a folder packed with some poetry she had stored underneath her bed. And if you don't mind, this is a short one that I'd really love. It goes like this. Life's a game of give and take. not a game of greed, lie, and fake. The what we get, the little while we live, all depend on how we give. All our joys, when old and gray, come from what we gave away. That was my mom, Barbara Ann Mover. I like to think performance transformance, my coaching practice, evolved out of that same spirit for giving and to become a catalyst for connection, a genuine force for hope, salvation, transcendence, and transformation, and to become a guiding light through the dark night of people's souls. I invite you to join me on this journey to spread love, kindness, hope, and light. And along the way, if you happen to meet a guy named Lou Cipher, please run the hell away as fast as you can. But feel free to contact me, Coach Mover, on Instagram or performancetransformance.com whenever you like. I have an EI assessment I'm happy to go over with all of you. Please reach out, say hello, put your contact information in the chat, whatever you want to do. But thank you and God bless.
My goodness, Richard, you are a one-man show in every sense of the word. My goodness, I have so many notes that I took, but just a couple of things. You know, Angela Maya is often credited with that quote that you said, Teddy Roosevelt said, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care."
Yeah, it's credited by a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, I guess,
And the
yeah,
first one I saw was Theodore Roosevelt, so I used him.
Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah, interesting. I have to look into that. But my goodness, the pearls of wisdom, and that you delivered it in such an easy way to understand.
Thank you. I messed it up a little bit here and there, but
No, but that's the authenticity of it. That thing, and I love what you said about emotional intelligence compared to artificial intelligence. And I'm a little weary about artificial intelligence myself. I'm like, you know, how much control are we giving up
yeah,
of
I'm actually
ourselves and our own thinking, that we don't have to do it? We don't have to think it through. Just put it on a machine and it'll do it for you. Um,
I agree. It's a frightening prospect.
It is a very frightening prospect. You
Yeah.
also quoted or referenced one of my favorites, Dr. John Maxwell. I have so much respect for him. One thing I want to say, if I understood it correctly, let me try to find my notes. If I understood it correctly, the inability that some people have to say thank you
Mhm.
and to show gratitude and appreciation. Um, it's so lacking today, isn't it? Now that I think about it.
I think that gratitude is one of the most overlooked. Uh, just it's a shame in a sense, because I mean I feel like we should all be grateful just to be alive. I mean,
It's
think of it.
grateful. It's a virtue. I mean, you should show it as a virtue. That's really what it is. But I guess that's the what shall I say? The self-importance that people give to themselves over other people, that they're just as good or in fact better.
Yeah, I think there's an overcompensation sometimes when people feel the need to grandstand, or they're lacking something inside. They need to be noticed. I have compassion for them. I used to be very judgmental of them. I've tried to switch in my older age to
I
being compassionate, and then trying to understand and maybe be helpful instead of
I
just.
have tremendous compassion for people like that too. Um, I'm known as a Socratarian. I ask a lot of questions. It's how I learn. I like to listen. It's the spoken word that is so important to me. And one of the quotes that Socrates, who's, for more than 2,000 years ago, is so well known for, is that he defined his own intelligence by knowing that he knew nothing.
Right. All I know is that I know nothing. Right.
All I know is that I know nothing. Is that not like the greatest sign of humility and true intelligence? That
Absolutely.
in the scope of things, for one man compared to the size and scope of the world, how much could one man know compared to everybody else put together? So it kind of put me in mind of Socrates. So I
Absolutely.
thank you for how you delivered what you delivered. And You have so much that you can share with people, teach people that they certainly can learn from you. And I want to give them an opportunity to connect with you. And all you have to do is go right here, my friends, go right here and connect with Richard Mover, who I'm sure you've been called Richard Mover and Shaker more than once.
Never heard it before. Amazing.
Oh, I'm so original. You are truly a mover and a shaker, a mover and a groover, a nice voice, a wonderful, wonderful message
Thank
that
you.
we so need to hear fundamental truths about ourselves. And when we can exist is when we can change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, we change the world. So I think it was Dr. John Maxwell who said trial, error, reflection, correction.
That's
It's
right.
never too late.
There you
It's
go.
never too late. Richard, thank you so much for bringing us such a profound message in such a fabulous and entertaining way. It's
Thank
been
you.
lovely. It's been lovely to have you on B.E.P Talks. And I remind everybody to please go here, connect. And what happened? Did I lose you? Oh my goodness.
I'm here. I'm
You're
here.
there. Okay. I don't know what happened. I think we had a little bit of a technical glitch.
Or
There
maybe.
we are.
Okay.
Wonderful. There we are. So as we always say on B.E.P Talks, everybody has a story. Every one of them is worth hearing and sharing. So please visit us at BEPtalks.com and learn how you can be a guest as well. Everybody has a story. And as we always say, may the best always be yet to come. So until we talk again, bye for now. Thank you, Richard.
My
Bye
pleasure.
bye.
Be well. Bye.